Picture yourself abandoned on a lonely, uninhabited island. Your only companions, the haunting cries of the jungle and the endless roar of waves pounding the shore. For more than 4 years, one man endured this nightmarish existence. This is the harrowing true tale of a castaway whose astonishing survival against impossible odds still challenges the very idea of human endurance. Born in 1676 in the modest Scottish village of Lower Largo, Alexander Selkirk seemed destined for a life filled with both danger and discovery. As a young man, his fiery and defiant nature often brought him into conflict with authority. But it was his dream of a life at sea that set him on the path to an adventure that would change him forever. Selkirk began his seafaring career in 1703 when he joined an expedition under the command of the English privateer William Dampier. Setting sail from Ireland, their mission, sanctioned by letters of marque, was to attack enemy vessels during the War of the Spanish Succession. Dampier captained the St. George, while Selkirk served aboard the Cinque Ports under Captain Thomas Stradling. After a brutal voyage around Cape Horn, their fleet engaged a French ship that managed to escape and warn Spanish forces. A failed raid in Panama left spirits low, but the capture of a supply-rich merchant vessel gave the crew renewed hope. Selkirk was briefly given command of this prize, though Dampier later released it after taking essential stores of wine, sugar, flour, and brandy. By May 1704, Stradling and the Cinque Ports parted ways with Dampier, setting into motion the extraordinary twist of fate awaiting Selkirk. By September, the Cinque Ports anchored at the uninhabited island of Mas a Tierra, part of the Juan Fernandez archipelago, to replenish water. During the voyage, Selkirk had grown increasingly alarmed about the ship's condition, leading to frequent clashes with Captain Stradling. Convinced the vessel would not survive much longer, Selkirk made a desperate choice. He declared he would rather remain on the island than sail further under Stradling's command. To his shock, Stradling agreed and left him behind. Almost instantly regretting his decision, Selkirk begged to be brought back aboard. But Stradling, determined to assert authority and make an example of him, refused. As the Cinque Ports vanished beyond the horizon, Selkirk faced the crushing realization of his fate. He was utterly alone, marooned hundreds of miles from civilization, left with only a few meager possessions: a musket, an old hatchet, a pot for cooking, a knife, carpentry tools, his Bible, and some clothing and bedding. The island was raw and untamed, alive with unsettling cries that echoed through the nights. Selkirk's first days were marked by fear and hesitation, as every sound reminded him of his isolation. Survival demanded that he adapt quickly. Food and shelter were his most urgent needs. He first found refuge in a cave near the shore, living off whatever he could gather. Yet grief, regret, and loneliness weighed heavily on him. For days on end, he would sit staring at the endless horizon, later admitting that he often wrestled with overwhelming despair and the crushing weight of his isolation. But nature soon forced him to act. As mating season arrived, massive sea lions flooded the beach, claiming the very ground where he had built his fragile existence. Cut off from his foraging grounds, he was pushed inland toward the dense, forbidding jungle. At first, this move filled him with dread, but it became his salvation. Beyond the beach, Selkirk discovered a fertile valley brimming with wild turnips, native fruits, and cabbage palms. These would become the backbone of his diet. Even more valuable were the goats, remnants of earlier pirate visits. At first, he hunted them with his musket, but when his powder ran out, Selkirk learned to chase them down on foot and set traps. Over time, he managed to tame a few, using them for both milk and meat. His life nearly ended during one of these hunts, when he slipped from a cliff while pursuing a goat. He lay at the bottom, injured and helpless, for days. Remarkably, the goat itself had broken his fall, saving him from certain death. The island's dangers were not limited to treacherous cliffs. At night, rats the size of his forearm gnawed at his skin as he slept, threatening him with disease and infection. Salvation came from the island's wild cats, which he gradually domesticated. They became his nightly guardians, protecting him from the vermin and offering companionship in his solitude. As the weeks stretched into months, Selkirk grew more resourceful. Though rescue seemed distant, he clung to hope. From a high vantage point, he scanned the sea each day, tending signal fires in case a ship should pass. By October 1704, he had moved inland and constructed sturdier huts near a fresh stream. Using his few tools, he built shelters of pimento wood with grass thatching and lined them with goat skins for warmth. He boiled meat in a single kettle, kindled fires with pimento wood, and varied his diet with lobsters, parsnips, parsley, and watercress. More than food or shelter, his Bible became his most cherished possession. Reading aloud each day helped him preserve both his speech and his sanity, and its words gave him comfort in his isolation. One day, while working near the shore, his heart leapt. Two ships appeared on the horizon and dropped anchor. Rushing to the beach, he lit fires and waved frantically, desperate for rescue. But his hope turned to terror when he realized they were Spanish vessels. Capture would mean torture or a lifetime of enslavement in the mines. Instead, Selkirk retreated deep into the jungle, while the sailors searched the island for supplies, narrowly escaping a fate worse than death. Selkirk's solitude nearly ended in disaster when a band of Spanish sailors caught sight of him. They opened fire, forcing him to draw on the agility he had gained from years of navigating the island's rugged terrain. Swiftly, he scaled a tall, leafy tree and concealed himself in its branches. At one point, the men even relieved themselves beneath the very tree in which he hid, unaware of his presence. Eventually, they abandoned their search and returned to their ship, leaving Selkirk shaken but alive. As the years dragged on, his possessions gradually deteriorated. When his knife finally broke, he ingeniously forged replacements from an iron barrel hoop washed ashore. His clothing, once fine seafaring garb, was replaced by crude garments made from goat skins. Running barefoot across the volcanic ground hardened his feet, and his untrimmed beard grew long and wild, giving him an almost feral appearance. Despite the hardships, Selkirk never abandoned hope. Unbeknownst to him, fate was moving in his favor. William Dampier, the very man whose expedition had stranded him, was once again sailing the Pacific. This time, Dampier served as navigator for a new venture, leading the Duke and its companion vessel, the Duchess, on a mission to raid the South American coast. The fleet departed England on September 1st, 1709, and by late January 1710, they approached the waters near Mas a Tierra. On February 1st, 1710, Selkirk's long vigil finally bore fruit. From his lookout, he spotted two ships whose rigging looked distinctly English. Heart racing, he rushed to the beach, built a signal fire, and waved desperately to catch their attention. Dampier, noticing the unusual smoke, dispatched a small boat to investigate. Leading the landing party was Thomas Dover, who was stunned to discover the ragged yet jubilant figure of Selkirk, alive after 4 years and 4 months in isolation. Captain Woodes Rogers of the Duke humorously nicknamed him Governor of the Island. Rogers, impressed by Selkirk's robust health, noted how he could outrun goats and how his steady demeanor belied years of solitude. Observing his resilience, Rogers remarked that solitude is not such an unbearable condition of life as most imagine, especially when one is thrust into it unavoidably, as this man was. Selkirk was appointed second mate aboard the Duke, and soon his privateering zeal reignited. In Guayaquil, Ecuador, he led a daring raid up the Guayas River, seizing jewels and gold from Spanish nobles who had attempted to flee with their treasures. Along the Mexican coast, he took part in further raids, even helping capture a valuable Spanish prize ship. Later, serving as sailing master under Thomas Dover, he navigated across the East Indies, eventually completing a circumnavigation of the globe. On October 1st, 1711, after 8 long years away, Alexander Selkirk returned to England. His astonishing tale of survival and perseverance spread quickly, turning him into a legend. Though deeply changed by his ordeal, his story of endurance and indomitable spirit captivated all who heard it. Selkirk's extraordinary ordeal would go on to inspire Daniel Defoe's timeless novel, Robinson Crusoe. His years of isolation and survival stand as a remarkable testament to the human spirit's ability to adapt, persevere, and endure even the harshest trials. His legacy serves as a lasting reminder of the resilience and inner strength that lie within us all when faced with overwhelming odds. Centuries later, in 1966, the Chilean government honored his memory by renaming Isla Masafuera to Alejandro Selkirk Island, a fitting tribute to the man whose story of courage and survival continues to capture imaginations around the world. And that was the unbelievable true story of Alexander Selkirk, the real-life castaway who inspired Robinson Crusoe. His survival shows us just how strong the human spirit can be, even in the most impossible situations. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more incredible tales from history. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.